Hi, I'm WTOP Entertainment Editor Jason Fraley, and we are here with the cast and crew of The Hunchback of Notre Dame, which is now coming to the Arlington Players through October 21st. Thank you so much for coming in, everybody.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Now, why don't you tell us your name, who you are, and what you do with the show?
Sure. My name is Rich Farella, and I'm the director.
And his name?
And my name is Alex Bryce, and I am playing Quasimodo.
One of the most iconic roles in literature and movies and beyond. Welcome. Now, as you can see, our Quasimodo is here with an interpreter with sign language over on the right. So if we have some other people that are watching that can follow the sign language as we do this video. Now, how excited were you to be cast as Quasimodo?
Really, it's just been an incredible opportunity. I never thought I could have an opportunity like this. It's exciting beyond belief. It's my second time acting ever. And so it's just been a great learning experience, an amazing experience overall. I'm looking forward to seeing how the audience reacts and responds to my version of Quasimodo.
We can't wait. And this is the Disney musical version, right? So all the songs we know and love. Is it Topsy-Turvy and Out There was the big one that
Absolutely.
Quasimodo sings, Out There, strolling by the... Yeah.
That was one of my favorite songs growing up, and not a small reason why I wanted to do this show. We've had the opportunity to cast a deaf actor in a deaf role, which is not something that has been done very often in theater, in this show in particular. The original Quasimodo from the book has been made deaf by the bells, the ringing of the bells, and that's something we're doing for this production of the musical as well. We still have someone singing his voice, sort of an inner monologue, who gets to sing all the beautiful numbers and speak occasionally when Quasi's inner monologue is being displayed for the audience.
Now, how exactly? Yeah, go into that more because it's a musical. So explain the dual role and how that's going to work. Because I know some performances are for, let's say, lack of a better word, the hearing audience, quote unquote, and then there's one where the interpreter is going to be on stage, right?
Sure, I'll explain that a little bit if you don't mind. It's every performance will be exactly the same from Alex's perspective. Alex will be on stage for every performance. He will be signing the show whenever a Quasi's line is spoken. He will be signing. We'll have a specific performance where off the stage will be standing an interpreter to interpret all of the additional lines in the show. All of the lines that are spoken will be interpreted for one night so that the deaf community has an opportunity to see this show, to see a musical where they otherwise might not be able to follow what was going on.
I love that you guys are doing this. It's so cool. And it's going to allow so many other people to watch it too. Remind us of the story, if you will, Quasimodo. Remind us, in case some of our listeners have been living under a rock. Remind us the premise.
Sure. So the basic storyline is Quasimodo grew up in Notre Dame Tower. And so he's been hiding there, living separate from the general world in Paris. His uncle is a priest in a church, and he is the one who has been designated to take care of him. So Quasimodo really grows up in isolation, disconnected from the world at large. What happens is he decides to go out and explore the world for a day, specifically the day of the Festival of Fools. At the festival, he meets a girl named Esmeralda, falls in love with her, and of course, there are two other men who fall in love with Esmeralda as well. And so you have a lot of dramatic tension in that kind of love triangle. You also have the storyline of Quasimodo trying to figure out who he is in of himself and who he is in relation to the other people, because he has been in this forced isolation up until that point, and now he's trying to make those interpersonal connections.
Awesome. Tell us, and when you think the Hunchback, we obviously are going to have the big Hunchback. So tell me about the costuming and how that all is designed, and the set as well, because it's a lush setting for us. So who's behind the, let's say, the visual design of the
Sure. So our set designer's name is Dan Wyderski. He's designed us a beautiful set, lots of moving parts, lots of pieces that are fun to play with as a director. Joan is our costumer, escaping on her last name. Joan Lawrence is our costumer. Joan has designed some beautiful costumes. We are playing a little bit with Quasi. He will have a hunch and he will have some makeup, but we want to show the humanity still in Quasi, so we're not going to do a full prosthetic. We want the audience to understand that even though he is different, he is just like them. And that's sort of part of what we're doing with the voice acting as well. Even though he's a deaf actor, he still communicates with the world just like the rest of us do.
That's awesome. Remind us. Go ahead.
No, I just wanted to say that it was a really big challenge trying to practice with a hunch and just naturally shaping my body to look like it has a hunch. I've been mostly successful with as little pains as I can manage, but it is tough because I'm a larger guy, and the man who plays Frollo is smaller in stature. So I think it's just a lot of interesting physical contrast.
Yeah. And Frollo is so evil. That character scares me. Do you alter how you carry yourself? The walk, kind of a hobble, or how do you play him physically, with body language?
So far, it's been more of an emphasis of the hunch, and so being physically hunched over, my shoulders are crooked. I might favor one arm, and so I would favor my right arm than my left arm. So I'll have a shorter range with my left arm. I can't necessarily move and do things that I can with my right arm. Just emphasizing again the hunch. I can't stand straight, and so I have that. Just by being bent over, I have those limitations.
And who plays our Esmeralda, and why is she so great to work across on stage?
Adelina Mitchell is Esmeralda. I'll let Alex take it away.
And thank you. Thank you for that. And I couldn't remember her last name, so that was a great help. So the two of us do have a few scenes together. But, I think there's a really good natural energy, an openness, and it's very easy for the two of us to work together and to have those dialogues when we're in character.
Yeah.
And I feel that Quasimodo really connects with her character of Esmeralda, and the warmth that she has and the energy that she has, and it allows for that sort of connection to happen. We've talked about just physical blocking on stage and standing together and what would work and what wouldn't work, and we're always checking in with each other to see what would work best for the two of us. We do have one song together that's called Top of the World, and at the end I actually teach her to sign a little bit, so she will sign.
Oh, wow.
And she agreed that it was really important to have that human connection there.
I love that. That is so great. I like that she gets involved in the signing, too, at the end. Tell me about yourself. How did you get into acting? You said this is one of your first roles, but how did you enjoy watching theater or movies growing up? And when did you decide, I want to try this?
Right. So I'm actually really happy that you asked that, because that's a good segue into why this production is so important for me personally. When I was in grad school at the Rochester Institute of Technology, I was fully involved in their theater department, really getting my hands dirty, building sets, painting sets, being involved sort of in that backstage role. And I was there as a supporter. Then I moved here to Washington, D.C., and I realized that, I needed to have some sort of hobby for after my regular work hours. And there was a friend of mine was looking for a volunteer to help paint sets for a show. And so I decided to offer my hand, and that was just sort of my lead into the whole theater world here. I did act once for a play called Sordid Lives. That was about 5 years ago. And since then, it was a great experience. I've still been involved in painting and carpentry and that sort of thing. And then when this opportunity arose and they said that they were looking for potentially a deaf actor, I thought that it was a chance that I just had to jump on. I saw the audition calls that were open for deaf or hearing actors. And often in my experience, which might be different than other people, but for me personally, I was involved in a deaf theater world in college. And, and for people who, once they got out of that sort of college bubble, they either went on to become involved in the theater professionally or just quit it completely. And there was no real middle ground. So you either, went the professional route or you had nothing. And so, there are different opportunities for people at large to get involved as adults that might not be accessible to deaf people. And so it was really great to see that deaf people can be involved in something on a community theater stage. And I had been involved, like I said, backstage, helping with the painting, and the building of sets and that sort of thing. But, you really don't have a lot of opportunities to see where deaf people can be involved and see a different perspective on maybe the same stories that you've heard. When you bring in a deaf role or a deaf actor, then it gives a different spin and a different perspective on the stories that you might already know.
Awesome. And hopefully it'll inspire future deaf actors to take the stage, and they'll all look up to you, So I appreciate you guys taking the time. Again, it is the Hunchback of Notre Dame, the Arlington Players. And where is it? Remind us, it's over by Shirlington, correct?
Yeah, we perform at Thomas Jefferson Middle School. There's a community center out of Thomas Jefferson Middle School. And if you are interested in the interpreted performance, email audiencerelations@thearlingtonplayers.org to specifically get seats in the reserve section. Otherwise, visit thearlingtonplayers.org to get tickets for any of our performances.
Awesome. Well, I look forward to seeing you out there strolling in the sun. Oh, thank you so much for coming in. I'm so excited. Thank you so
for
much.
having us.
Yeah, and thank you for having us also.